This weekend marks the 30th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall back in November 1989. Poland was the first Eastern Bloc country to turn its back on communism earlier that year. But those iconic images of the wall coming down here in Berlin really did confirm that the Cold War in Europe was coming to an end. On the evening of November 9th, 1989, the whole world watched the destruction of the Berlin Wall. A structure that divided not just the city, but families, nations, and superpowers. Stretching over 80 miles, the wall was built to divide the communist East and the capitalist West. Today, only small sections of it still remain, and crossing it is no trouble at all. Many cultural and political factors contributed to the destruction of the wall, but few captured the mood of the time as much as music. In the West, megastars like David Bowie and Bruce Springsteen both played protest gigs by the partition. But in the East, under the watchful eye of the secret police, an underground scene was forming. It was angry, it was anarchic, and it was a breakaway from control. It was punk music. Chaos was the frontman for Wuntenfell, one of the scene's top bands.
Auch Kids, die nach irgendwas gesucht haben und rebellieren wollten, ihre Freiheit wollten. Wir sind einfach raus ohne Vorschriften, ohne Regeln, und hätte mir aber letztendlich nie ausmalen können, was für extreme Konsequenzen das hatte. Im Prinzip alle gegen dich. Die Eltern, die Verwandtschaft, die Gesellschaft. Und die dachten aber auch, wir, denke ich mal, haben vor, das System zu stürzen.
East Germany's secret police, the Stasi, regularly targeted defiant anti-authoritarian punks. On multiple occasions, Chaos was imprisoned and brutally beaten.
Mir dann ein schwarzen Sack über den Kopf gezogen wurde und man hat mich in ein Waldstück gefahren, rausgeholt, und 3 Mann haben mich zusammengetreten. Ich mit Handschellen, und das war ein Moment, wo ich dachte, die bringen mich jetzt um. Es war meine Trotzigkeit, mein unbedingter Wille, mir einfach nichts vorschreiben zu lassen.
Back then, the intense scrutiny of the Stasi meant that gigs often had to be held in the unlikeliest of locations. This is the place. Wow, this is pretty spectacular.
Yeah, it's a church.
I can't imagine hundreds of punks coming to a church for a concert.
Yeah, with hundreds of beer. Hat nur die Kirche dir einen gewissen Schutz und Räume zur Verfügung gestellt. Es würde einfach zu viel Aufsehen erregen, würde man in einer kirchlichen Einrichtung damals auch schon Leute verhaften, zuführen, prügeln oder sonst was.
What was the vibe and the energy like in here?
Es war lustig. Einerseits war natürlich eine ganze Menge Punks, die wussten, es ist ein Konzert dort. Aber es waren natürlich auch viele Hippies, Langhaarige und Leute aus der jungen Gemeinde da, inklusive der Pfarrer. Und ich sag mal, die wussten am Anfang noch nicht, auf was sie sich da einlassen.
When you think about those times, those difficult times during the GDR period where you were intimidated by the Stasi and the problems that you had amongst the people in the streets, would you do it again?
Absolut. Es war für mich die härteste, aber auch schönste Zeit.
Punk was the soundtrack to an era of mounting defiance against the GDR, an era that culminated with the destruction of the wall. Now, 30 years on, this underground history is finally surfacing. In the aptly named punk bar Kirche von Unten, or the Church from Underground, a band is rehearsing for Ostart, a 2-day festival taking place this weekend, designed to pay tribute to the subculture that provided a lifeline for so many.
Ostart is a festival in Berlin in honor of the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. It's a good chance to get the younger people in touch with the history in the end. It's not like I have to read some books or whatever, you can feel it. For me, the real punks were in the GDR, not in the Western, because they had really to deal with repression, police, and it was really a big thing to do this there.
The stakes were much higher for the punks in the GDR.
Yeah.
Today's been really surprising, and it makes me think of what it must have been like in this city on the night that the Berlin Wall came down, the energy that must have crackled through it, and how much of that energy was driven by punk music. But you know what else is also cool? It's the fact that the next generation here are putting on events like the Ostart Festival, which is helping to keep the memory alive of that counterculture, the counterculture of punk music that had to fight so hard just to exist.